Direct from the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street in Penticton, this is Coach's Corner, presented by Underwriters Insurance. It's time for your weekly fill of V's conversation and BCHL news and notes with members of the V's organization, fans, and the local media. Now let's get to the hockey talk with head coach and GM of the V's, Fred Harbinson, and your host, Ryan Pinder.
Welcome to episode 13 of Coach's Corner, live from the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street, Penticton, and brought to you by Underwriters Insurance. This is episode 13 with the head coach and GM of the Penticton V's. We'll look back at a thrilling sweep of the Langley Chiefs last weekend. Also, how's the Coastal Conference stacking up compared to the interior? The V's are amid an 11-game run against Coastal foes. And a special note on a V's alumnus making an NHL debut tonight on short notice. That's all ahead. Also, we'll be joined by David Crompton on our media panel at the end of the show. Coach, happy Thursday. Good to see you.
Nice to see you again, Ryan.
Let's start where we always do. Last weekend, the Langley Chiefs, from the broadcast booth, I thought Saturday would have been a bit of a roller coaster from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you definitely, when it's all over, you say, why the heck do you do this? There's no question about it. But the positive side is that this time of year, those points are crucial. We found a way not only to get it to overtime where we were guaranteed 1 point, but then to kill the penalty and get the second point was massive. But, you know, the process is something that's very important as well at this time. And I thought that we took a little bit of a step back. I didn't really like the way we played. We kind of played the way Langley likes to play. They're not afraid to take chances and give chances up. And the amount of odd man rushes was very disturbing. And lucky for us, we were able to dodge a bullet.
So the odd man rushes against, I think Joel Rumpel, chatting with him earlier in the week, didn't love how he played in the opening 40 minutes. But that all aside, I thought you pulled up your socks, you played a heck of a third period. Joel was lights out from about the 13-minute mark of the second period. And you come up with another come-from-behind win. I mean, at the end of the day, that's got to be a positive.
Oh, yeah, and so you don't want to take that away from the guys. Very exciting. We proved that we can come back no matter what a score is. And you know, so there's some things that you draw from, and there's a few little things that you can coach from too. Like today, we worked on one little specific area that I think that would have helped on Saturday night. And so, you know, I mean, it's better to find out what you need to tweak now than maybe a month and a half from now.
All right. Secondly, on that Langley home series last weekend, Rumpel's play late I thought was very impressive, especially down a man in overtime. And then Garrett Milan all of a sudden has two big goals on the weekend. And vintage Milan, the first one on Friday night, and on Saturday you couldn't come up with a prettier goal.
Well, it was only a week ago when we were sitting here last Thursday when, you know, the question was when is he going to score, and you know, we talked about moving him back to the wing and maybe that we would see a little more energy out of him down the wall and creating plays. And I thought he scored a beauty on Friday night, a one-timer off the wing where Brendan O'Donnell found him wide, and then Saturday night he actually had a chance similar to that just a little bit earlier. And the winning goal, I think a lot had to do with he made that strong play to the middle, got knocked off stride a little bit, and I think that threw Galley off a little bit. I think he kind of slid a little further than he wanted to, and it changed up a little bit on him, and then he was able to slide it through the 5-hole.
It's funny, every time you see a lower mainland team, you know, Surrey, Coquitlam, Langley, all those kids that played there seem to play their best hockey. Stephen Ikabelis isn't anywhere near your team lead in points, but against coastal teams he's a point per game, or against lower mainland teams. Milan plays big in front of friends and family. I thought it might have been just a blip on the radar, but I mean, this is a pretty good sample size. 5 out of your 6 games, all those guys have been awesome.
Yeah, well, if it continues, I guess we'll have to get a bigger bus for come playoff time and have a little bit of a traveling show. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, this weekend being Parents' Weekend, we'll have a lot of our players are fortunate to have families come from great distances, and it's exciting for them, obviously, to come see their boys play in person, and then and just as exciting for the players.
Talk about that Parents' Weekend. We've seen in years past it can be a distraction, but it has to be a really exciting time for the guys.
Yeah, you know what? I think what we've done is we've kind of pared it down a little bit. I think in the past we had banquets and all the different kind of things going on, and you know what? The parents come here to see their kids and be around their kids, and you know, I think all the hoopla, you know, kind of does become a distraction. And the situation this year was that usually parents' weekends in November, and with the Junior A Challenge and everything else that was going on, we didn't really have a weekend that we could do it, so we had to do it very late this year. And with 15 games to go, every point is important. So, I think the parents are going to be treated very well, but the main thing is they're going to be here and supporting their kids and supporting our team. And I don't think it'll be a distraction. If anything, it'll be a boost for our guys. One
of the themes that we've talked about the last couple of weeks has been physicality. What did you think of that against Langley versus where it maybe was the previous 2 weekends?
You know what? To be honest, I don't think that was an issue. I think our hits per game was right up there again. So, it just went to a little bit of a mindset of making decisions without the puck was our biggest problem. It wasn't our physical play. Obviously we scored enough goals. I mean, we scored a ton. Our special teams were lights out. We did give up one power play goal each night, but I think they were like 2 for 10 or 11 or something on the power play, and they were an offensive team, and our power play was
6 for 10 by my count.
Yeah, so that's you can't ask for more. So I think it was our decision making without the puck that was our biggest downfall. And you know what? I think we'll be physical again this weekend.
A lot of conversation about Saturday night's game with Powell River. They come in as the team to beat, quote unquote, in the BCHL. They certainly have run away with the Coast. They've been ranked number 1 in the country for a fair amount of time this season. Does that mean Friday's a bit of a trap game? You got Coquitlam, a team you've beaten, a team that's not as high in the standings. A lot of talk about Saturday.
Well, I mean, that was exactly my comment to the team today before practice, is that if we don't come out and take care of business, it takes away from what happened Saturday. So, in saying that, these are young guys. I mean, when I walked into the room today, that I could hear the words Powell River, this, and different players' names from Powell River, and that's no disrespect to Coquitlam. It's the thing, like you say, that the trap that you fall into. And myself as a coach, someone that's been doing this for a while, had to reel the guys back in today and say, look, we're not even going to talk about them. We need to focus on Coquitlam. Yeah, they're a team maybe lower in the standings, but you have a player like Destry Straight. Lamacki is having a heck of a year. I mean, there's a multitude of players over there that have been around the league for a while, and so you know what, we need to come out with a vengeance tomorrow night and set the tone for the entire weekend.
We'll take a break, come back, talk about the Coastal Conference, and bring you up to date on some breaking alumni news. This is Coach's Corner at the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street. We'll be back in a moment.
Here's a look at the upcoming games for your Penticton Vees. Home or away, you can catch all the Vees games on Easy Rock AM 800 in Penticton or online at myeasyrock.com. Join us next Thursday at 5:30 at the Best Damn Sports Bar for the next edition of Coach's Corner, presented by Underwriters Insurance.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner live at the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street, presented by Underwriters Insurance. Before we get back into it, Coach, I want to say thank you to Dave Thomas from Advanced Audio, based out of Summerland. This beautiful mic right here, helping the show. And thanks to Dave, who a supporter of the V's, and we appreciate that. 11 games in a row against the Coastal Conference. You've played 4. You've got 4 wins. You haven't lost in regulation against a Coastal team, though you do see Powell River twice in the next week. I wonder what your thoughts on the conference as a whole might be.
Well, you know what? I think the conference is, I think the league in general is pretty strong, pretty tight. The parity is the word that's being used everywhere, and I think, it's hard for us to gauge. We watch the teams on video, and it's always the ongoing discussion. Which division is better, which league is better, Alberta or BC, Saskatchewan. The bottom line is there's great hockey players in each division, very good coaches in each division, and it doesn't matter who we play. With 15 games left to go here, we just need to keep concentrating on tweaking our game, which we've been getting better and better as time goes on. Obviously a little bit blip in the screen there on Saturday night, but a sign of a good team is a team that when you do maybe falter in certain areas, that you still find a way to win a hockey game.
The one thing I do notice when looking at the Coast and how you've played them, it seems like they're still close games, but it seems to be a little more high scoring. You look at Langley and Surrey, you've scored 21 goals in your last 4 games. I'm sure a lot of credit's due to the way you're playing, but at the same time, you look at the Coastal Conference, all the teams seem to score a little more. They seem to allow a few more goals, with the exception of Powell River.
Yeah, I think if you look at the history of the league, for some reason that division has always been a little bit more wide open hockey, and in the interior here, the teams like Vernon obviously are content with playing a trap type game, and Westside's the same, quite similar, and Salmon Arm was one maybe to play a little bit more like the Coast, and that's kind of changing now. So you look up and down the standings in each division, and I mean, there's only a few points separating teams that are going to be in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, and teams that have a chance, to finish it, especially in our division, first to third or fourth. And with the exception of Powell River, they're the only team that's really kind of running away with things.
They've done a great job since Kent Lewis has come back there. I remember the first year that you got back into this league and I covered the league, it wasn't a team that was playing very well. Kent came in, and this is all of a sudden a team that's been to the league final twice in a row. They're looking like, a third one wouldn't be an upset by any stretch of the imagination. What are your thoughts on that program and what they've brought to the table for the BCHL?
Well, you got to give them a lot of respect for what they do from where they're at, and that's not a slap at them. I mean, it's just a fact that, it's a factual statement that it's not the easiest place probably for them to recruit to because of the way they have to travel. I mean, for us, everybody wants to talk about, our building and the climate here and everything else, but our travel plays a big part too in some of the interior teams recruiting. And for Powell River, it's difficult. They have to every road game they play, they have to stay in a hotel practically, and they have to stay in hotels and ferries and all these different things that they have to endure. So you got to give them respect for that. It's a tough place to play because of the travel. Once again, like for the visiting teams, they've had a strong home record over the last few years because they do bring in very good talent. They're well coached, but at the same time, it's a tough place to get to, and a lot of teams are tired when they get there.
It's something your club's going to see next week. Maybe talk about the importance of this 5-game road trip. You'll be gone for a week. The 5 games will be played in 6 days, and I don't think anyone would be understating the importance of that week away.
Well, yeah, when you play, like we say, we've got 15 games to go, and 5 of them are going to be on that one trip. I mean, it's pretty simple to realize that, this is not some Bantam or Pee Wee trip that we're going on and bring the pop and chips and think that it's all going to be fun and games. I mean, we're going to have to go there with a, real workman attitude and realize that, this can really decide, where we're going to finish, in the next month. And I think we've seen basically all those teams with the exception of Powell River, which we'll see. It's kind of a home and home with them, where we play them Saturday night and then again on Tuesday. And I think our guys are excited about getting on that road trip. It will be fun, but it's only fun if we're going to go there and get the job done.
You do this trip every year in the sense that you go out to the island, you play all 4. You've made it a 5-game trip, which is somewhat new. Is there a simple key or one thing that if you could choose to happen, it always does on these big road trips, whether it's winning the first game or making sure you're healthy? Is there a certain thing that you'd love to see happen on this road trip or that would help it be more successful?
Well, I think the one thing is that, we go to Powell River right off the bat. So, I mean, you get that situation out of the way where you have the long trip, you get there the day before, you play the game, you stay there the next day because of the ferry situation. After that, we're basing everything right out in Nanaimo. So we'll do our little short drives to each town, but we're going to stay in one place. So we're only going to be in 2 different hotels, and I think that makes a big difference because when you're, unloading and loading again and rechecking in, it sounds like something small, but it does get to become a pain, and it sort of gets wear on you. So the nice thing is we get the Powell River, stay 2 days there. The rest of the time we'll be in one hotel, and I think we'll be just fine with it. And the nice thing with our depth this year, we are also going to bring Carter Rigby with us to add another player with us. Our depth should mean that we should be playing 4 lines, our 6 or 7 defensemen, and both goaltenders will get opportunities. So it's not like we should be overplaying guys and be exhausted by the end of the trip.
How do you approach that? Or would you be comfortable sitting a veteran that would play every game of the year, maybe under this circumstance where you play 5 and 6?
You know what? The reason we have APs is to make sure that we're pushing players, okay? One is if there's injuries, but at the same time, if guys aren't getting the job done, then you know what? I'm not going to have any issues with putting an AP player in a playoff game, never mind a regular season game, ahead of a veteran. Now, if guys are just struggling because they're busting their butt and things just aren't going well, I mean, I don't see that. But if guys aren't executing because they're not they're not coming to work every day and battling and playing the way we want to play, then we've got some very good players sitting in the wings ready to go.
It's going to be an exciting week, and that all starts Monday when the V's leave at about 6:37 in the morning. It'll be gone for nearly a full week.
We'll have to make sure you set your alarm. You and Murray,
I might sleep at the rink.
You and Murray will be sleeping on each end of the couch there. Make sure you're not late.
We'll come back and catch up with one of the V's alumni who will be making his NHL debut tonight. This is Coach's Corner at the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street.
Here's a look at the upcoming games for your Penticton V's. Home or away, you can catch all the V's games on Easy Rock AM 800 in Penticton or online at myeasyrock.com. Join us next Thursday at 5:30 at the Best Damn Sports Bar for the next edition of Coach's Corner, presented by Underwriters Insurance.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We're live at the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street. All brought to you by Underwriters Insurance. It's time for our media panel. Joining the head coach and GM, Fred Harbison, we've got David Crompton from the Penticton Herald and Emmanuel Sequeira from the Penticton Western News. Dave, fire away.
Yeah, Coach, I know we talk a lot about the Powell River game here, but Coquitlam is kind of a two-part question, but they're tied for the last playoff spot with Couch, and I'm sure you expect they'll be a desperate team. And also, could we possibly see Billy Faust this weekend in that game, or let's see your plans?
Yeah, you know what? First off, you hit it right on the head, and that was the exact word that I used with our team today, is that, we can't look past Coquitlam because exactly that. They will be playing desperate. They want to make the playoffs as bad as anybody else. We might be battling for a chance at first place, but they're battling for their playoff lives. And they've got some very good players on that team all the way through their lineup. And I think they've got some guys that'll come in here and want to prove, whenever teams play our team, we get their A game because they want to prove, that they can play with us. And so, absolutely, we know that we better have our A game because we'll get theirs. And as far as the goaltending situation, I'd already planned, Billy Faust is going tomorrow night. He will be playing, and then probably Joe Rumpel will be back in on Saturday.
Emmanuel?
Just with Coquitlam, during the practice, is there any part of their game that you kind of focus on so that they're not, dangerous against you?
You're saying with Coquitlam, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? The biggest thing that we focused on, this week is that we wanted to be able to play a little better without the puck. Okay, so we watched over their, obviously broke down their power play, and we know exactly the way they want to, move the puck on their power play. And so that was one thing that we practiced against today. But as far as their overall, the way they play, you know what, we really focused on playing away from the puck this week as far as our tracking back, our back pressure in the neutral zone, our identifying when we're coming back into the zone and finding the late man. They have some skill guys, like I said earlier, the Lamakia kid, the Destry Strait has put up big numbers this year, and they're guys that try to find, they're good at finding players away from pressure. So that's where we have to really do a good job tomorrow night, saying, okay, we've got pressure back on them as they're coming in the zone, and then we need to find their third and fourth players, their second wave offense.
We've got a couple emailed questions sent in, and you can send them in to the coach at vsvoice@gmail.com, and we'll have them on every Thursday. Matt emails in again. He says, hey, Coach, I wonder if it is good for Joey Lelege's draft stock to have that segment that ran Monday and Tuesday on Sportsnet, and what is it from the view of the team to have the exposure of having a segment made for him on Sportsnet?
Well, whenever you can get exposure on a regional or national type regional type news, I mean, it's outstanding, and it's well deserved for Joey, and it's great for our organization. As far as the draft status, I think the draft status should be helped because of that he's got a chance to win the scoring race as a defenseman, and it's one of those things where maybe he hasn't been given enough due from the NHL scouts. He's a player that last year everybody kind of said, well, yeah, he put up big numbers, but defensively maybe wasn't as strong as he needed to be, and or the excuse was that maybe it was because of Bennett and Manderson, and he's first off becoming an outstanding player without the puck and defender, and he's really up that side of his game. And then the other part is those two players that I mentioned aren't there anymore, and he's going to surpass the point totals that he had last year. So if I was an NHL head scout or GM, I would definitely be looking at him as a possible draft. And what people don't understand, and I've said it a million times, is that if he doesn't get drafted, it could actually be the best thing that ever could happen to him. It's not maybe what kids want to hear because it's always an ego thing, or parents want to hear, but if you're a 6th, 7th round pick, or at times that limits yourself to that one team where you know what, he goes on after here and does the same things that he's done at the midget level, at the junior level, and now at the college level, he'll have 30 teams fighting for him to try to sign him, and that might be the best thing ever.
Just to add a note to that, Aaron Volpatti played with the Vernon Vipers, didn't score 6 goals in his junior or NCAA career until last year. He's the captain of Brown University, scored 17 goals, huge bidding war for his services, and he's making way more money than if he was a late pick.
No question. My time at St. Cloud, we had probably more guys that signed as free agents that had got better deals than a lot of our guys that were drafted, and just the way it, you know, the situation that that everything's in now is the way it works, and it's simple to realize that if you have one team, they can kind of dictate. If you have 30 teams, it becomes, like you said, a bidding war.
Secondly, I've got a question from Ralph saying, do you have a particular strategy when you're breaking out of your own zone, and do you have a couple different breakouts, and how do you sort of employ those strategies against different opponents?
You know, I think first off, when you talk about breaking out of your own end, I mean, you have to have players that have creative and you know, creativity, and there's different reads that you have, you know, maybe not specific breakouts per se that maybe you would have at the minor hockey level, but there's different reads depending on what another team does. The biggest thing when you have like more of a set breakout, a controlled breakout, like we like to call it, is when you're playing against teams that are trapping, or even teams that don't trap, when maybe a situation where the puck starts behind your net and they're not able to put pressure, a lot of teams will drop back into a trap or a 1-2-2 type forecheck. Then you have sort of a set areas where guys that need to go, specific responsibilities that they have, and go from there. And then you know, the creative hockey sense takes over.
Right on. Finally, an alumni note, a guy that Emmanuel and Dave and you and I watched a lot, Jordan White, playing with the UBC Thunderbirds. An emergency call up by the San Jose Sharks tonight. He'll be on the bench as the Sharks play the Canucks. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's got to be exciting for him and his family, and you know, regardless if he gets in the game or not, it's something pretty special. Not a lot of people can say that, and you know, we're proud you know, that he gets that opportunity. It's
kind of a fluky thing, but it couldn't happen to a better kid, could it?
Absolutely. You know, so you never know. You've seen it before, where all of a sudden maybe he gets his chance tonight.
Thanks for your time, Coach. As always, much appreciated, guys. Thanks for being here. This has been Coach's Corner, live from the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street in Penticton, brought to you by Underwriters Insurance. Thanks for your time. We'll see you in 2 weeks for our next program. With lots to talk about, a full week-long road trip for the Bees. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Coach's Corner is a presentation of Rye Pit Media and the Penticton Vees Hockey Club.